This is an example of how you can take a long-term countrywide strategy and cascade it down all the way down to the department inside of a special project. In this example, we're going to show how the UAE Centennial Plan for 2071 cascades down to the ministry, from the ministry down to an individual project, the Nawah nuclear plant, and then from there to a department inside the plant. That cascade all the way down. So the Centennial Plan for 2071 has in it a number of key long-term strategies. And so think of those as being sort of listed on the left side of a sheet. In this case, it's focus on future-focused government, excellent education, diversified knowledge economy, happy and cohesive society. And they prioritize those. And then across the top, we're going to put the individual ministries inside the government. And then we score the support for each ministry inside of each of those strategic goals. So again, we've got three goals: future-focused government, excellent education, diversified knowledge, happy, cohesive society. And these are the weightings. Now, these aren't the exact weightings. These are massaged for the purpose of this video. And then across here are all the ministries. And what we're doing is we're scoring the ministry's impact on achieving that objective. In other words, if this ministry went away, what would the impact be on achieving this objective? And it's a scale from 0 to 5, 5 being critical. If that ministry went away, we could not achieve that strategy at all, down to blank, it has no impact. And this cell is just the multiplication of the weighting, 25%, times the impact that the team agreed to, in this case 3. So that equals 75, and using conditional formatting, we make the cell black. The next one down has an impact of 1 on an objective of 15%, so that earns 15 strategy points, so it's light gray. The next one, also an impact of 1, but the weighting is 40, so that makes it dark gray. So in this way, what we've been able to do is illustrate where this ministry needs to focus. Based on the darker the color, the more it needs to focus. So in this case, it needs to set some objectives around what it's doing to support future-focused government. On the other hand, programs for boosting business has to support all the elements of the strategy, and so forth. So the idea here is we've translated that corporate top-level country strategy down to what each ministry needs to do. What it also allows us to do is to take that scoring for any one ministry. So in this case, we'll take a look at environment and energy, and they can use that to build their ministry strategy. And then in this case, within the ministry strategy, they've identified a project, which is the Nawah nuclear power plant. And this is going to talk about how the nuclear power plant itself supports the environment and energy responsibilities in achieving the countrywide success. So we've done that cascade down. In fact, within Nawah, we then did that same thing. What are Nawah's objectives? Listed them on the left. Across the top, we listed the different departments, one of which is HR, human resources. And then within human resources, we did the same thing. So the company-wide strategy for Nawah was as follows. We used a strategy map idea, and overall, Nawah wants to be safely, reliably, and effectively generate electricity to power UAE's peaceful nuclear energy program operations, delivering necessary services to enable nuclear operations. So overall, their objective is to optimize value of the investment in these departments and minimize financial risk. What do their customers want? They want stakeholder success and enable effectivity within stakeholders. Internally, what they need to do is sustain world-class nuclear operations, deliver on-time requirements, enhance supplier partnerships, and be compliant with regulations. And if they enhance the supplier partnerships, that will also help them deliver on time to the requirements. And then the enablers for them are ensure a capable workforce, foster a performance culture, and ensure the right tools. So this becomes a strategy for Nawah. Again, that's within the energy ministry within the country. And then they prioritize them. And their prioritization for the year of this project was as follows. Now, the way the prioritization works is you say these objectives equal 100% of our strategy. How do I allocate that 100% across these objectives? And in this case, the focus for this year, anything over 10%, is foster the performance culture so that we can deliver on time to the requirements and enhance our supplier partnerships in aid of engaging effectively with our stakeholders and ensuring their success. So in the early construction phases, that was their focus. So we could take those objectives and lift them on the left side of a sheet, and across the top, what are the core processes, in this case, in the HR function to support those operations? And again, we scored the impact of each of these departments on those objectives. So, for example, we see here is critical, 5 out of 5, but it's only a 1% objective, so that's light gray. Here it's critical, also 5 out of 5, but that objective is worth 12, so it's black. There's an example where it's gray, again, it's 5 as critical, but the objective is 5%, that means 25 strategy points. So what this means is now if I'm in the culture and engagement area, I need to write my objectives around what I do to support the power culture, what I do to support talent management, what I do to support digitalization, and finally, what do I do to support climate for action. Whereas if I was in hiring, I need to write my objectives around what I'm doing to match people to the right roles, enable the culture, talent management, and also climate for action. So you can see each department needs to do different things and have different objectives. We can also see horizontally who needs to work together to achieve the objective. In other words, to make sure that we match the right people to the right roles, if I were to have a team meeting, I don't need anyone from culture, but I do need someone from hiring, no one from HR ops, but I do need someone from OD, no one from rewards, yes, someone from manpower planning and talent review and performance management and talent development. So now I can figure out how we need to collaborate across departments. Now, the same mathematics work whether I'm looking at, in this case, inside the HR department or inside the Nawah plant itself at the next level up, or across ministries to achieve the overall country objectives. So this spreadsheet allows us to make sure that the departments are setting the right objectives and that we understand what teams are. Finally, what I want to say is if the weighting changes, so if leadership met and decided that this 12% was going to get moved down to 1% and this 1% gets moved up to 12, once I move this to 1%, these boxes are no longer black. That means these departments no longer need to work on those areas, but these ones will turn black. So now, instead of working on people culture, I'm now going to focus on maximizing return on employees. Likewise with hiring and so forth. So by changing the weighting, we change where these black squares are, which in turn changes where my objectives need to be. So this weighting becomes almost a steering wheel for management. That's how they guide the organization to deal with issues like COVID or changes in funding, etc., and very quickly allow the organization to change direction and focus on the right things. So that is what makes agile management, the ability to change this weighting at any point in time and quickly have the organization change direction. Finally, I want to talk about these numbers down the bottom here. So we add up how many points any one department earns under this strategy. So for example, you can see culture is worth 390 strategy points, whereas rewards is only 256. Now, the way these points come in useful is you can actually begin to gamify business by helping employees understand how many points they've earned that day, that week, that month. So the team can begin to keep score on how many points it's earned based on the work. Obviously, if I was in culture engagement and I wanted to earn the most points, I would focus my attention on these black boxes because that's where I earn the most points towards my 390. Whereas rewards is going to focus on a different area. And again, we call this the gamification of business because now every employee can see the progress that they need to make and the progress that they have made literally day to day, week to week, month to month, and allows people to be engaged and motivated in the organization.